All right, I think we should be good to go here. Um, so we haven't done this much, and it's been a long, long time since we did anything like this. So this is just meant to be super casual, super low key. I'm going to just do some programming and just kind of talk through what I'm doing. And there's not any, I mean, there is kind of a goal. There's a loose goal here, but there's nothing specific. So, ask questions in the chat if you've got them. If you want to basically just work on the same problem, the same challenge on your own independently, don't feel like you got to do exactly what I'm doing or anything like that. That's a good thing to do too. Um, but yeah, like I said, this is pretty casual, so we'll just have some fun here for the next hour or so. I think, cross your fingers, I think I'm also recording this in a way that I can post it to YouTube later as well. So, all right. So the reason that mostly I'm just in the mood to do some programming. And yesterday I was playing Minecraft with my wife, and we went to a trial chamber for the first time, and I realized there's a lot more potions than there used to be. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. So I got looking at all the potions that are available and stuff and thought, oh, I kind of want to go play around with this. So, what my plan is, let me get this out of the way. Most people have probably played Minecraft. If not, you've at least heard of it. This is just like a little subsystem of Minecraft where you can create these potions, and there's a lot of them now. They have these different effects, like when you drink them or you can throw them at people. Let's see if I can. There's out of all the potions, you craft them. You start with a glass water bottle. You start with a glass bottle. You fill it with water, and then you can add gunpowder to it to turn it into a splash potion, which you can throw at things to get the effect on whatever you threw it at. These lingering potions, like same thing happens, but then like there's particle effects that like stick around for a while. And so if you walk through it, then the effect takes place. And like that's what happened to me in the trial chamber. Because I had never been to one, and there's just all these weird things happening. What's going like? There's a this mess of particles, and then weird things kept happening. Like I think I got randomly like there's like a speed or something. Yeah, this right here, and I didn't understand what it even was. Anyway, so yeah, you add these different ingredients to it. It changes the type of the potion. Mostly you start with this, yeah, you get a water bottle, you add nether wart, you get an awkward potion, and then you add the main ingredient, rabbit's foot, sugar, blaze powder, whatever it is, and it turns it into like the main potion, and then you can like adding the glowstone dust. This increases its what does this do? The redstone adds time to it. This adds like the the impact or like whatever it does. Like this is like plus 20% speed. This is plus 40% speed. Anyway, so like this is I think an interesting uh, little space to explore. So that's what I'm gonna do. And like I said, I don't have anything specific in mind here, but just to see where this goes. So back to Visual Studio. I'm gonna move that off the screen. I'll be able to see it. You guys won't be able to. I'm just gonna make a new project for this. Let's use .NET 9. Make this text a little bigger. All right. So where do we start? That's always the big question. Well, for me, one of the places to start when I don't know what else to do is with just like the object model. Like, what data structures or what objects do I need to like wrap my mind around this? And let's think through what this could be. So we could just make a class here, public class potion. But each of these potions need a type of some sort. So I have a couple options. I could use an enumeration, or I could so like we could do something like public um, potion type, and then just start throwing these in. So water, awkward potion, swiftness. Like we could do that. Alternatively, we could make derived types. So we could do public, like awkward potion is a potion. Class keyword in there. One thing I like about using the enumeration over inheritance to like make more is that like I can just change a potion type without having to create a whole new object. On the other hand, if there's different behavior, an enumeration doesn't really capture behavior. You do need objects to like capture behavior. And these potions do different things, but maybe I like the way they've got this set up. Let me come back over here. The way they've got this set up, the potion itself doesn't do a thing. The potion itself will generally make it like it applies an effect to something else. So it really comes down to, you know, that this like poison, that's an effect. Like you if you have this potion and you drink it, then you get an effect. And so the effect is the thing actually doing stuff. So maybe the enumeration makes sense here. It's definitely the simplest. And if all I'm doing, like maybe all I'm doing right now is the kind of the crafting system. They call it crafting when you're creating potions. Brew is it brewing? Maybe it's brewing. So maybe I don't. Maybe we keep it simple for now. I don't think that inheritance is necessarily wrong here. But let's see if we can just keep this simple. And if we have to change it, we'll change it. So let's see. Where were we? I could even what I've got right now is maybe a good start. Do I want to do? How do I want to handle? Sorry, I keep jumping back and forth. How do I want to handle this stuff that's like swiftness 2 and swiftness plus? I want to just do swiftness 2 and swiftness plus, or do I want to have like something like this where I do so that looks really dumb. I don't love that. And then like have a potion have both of those, and then we do like none. Or is this like would we do like public int level, and then handle the plus in a different way? Or there's a lot of that's the thing is there's a lot of things we could do here. I'm not sure at a glance. I'm not looking at this and saying there's an obvious answer. So I think that's pretty normal in software development. There are a lot of things that could be done, and what we could do here is just try out some things and just see where it goes, experiment, prototype, and then when we know a little more, we can start to eliminate some of these options. The nice thing about software is we can always come back and change it. It is far easier to change software than it is to change a bridge or a building or a rocket that you've already launched. So let's just pick a thing. Well, or maybe the other thing we can do here is just punt. Just say, we'll solve that problem another day. Just keep it simple, not unreasonable for the moment. I think it's more useful for us to get through the basic potion crafting stuff, potion brewing. But there's another thing that we need here, and that is like there's like ingredients. And because like in order to get an awkward potion, we need netherwort. And to get a swiftness potion, we need sugar. And okay. We could just start with that, and we want to make this really simple. We could actually use a record. Like that. Now we need, all right, so now at this point we can do potion, new potion of type water. And then, okay, so the next, so we have some basic building blocks here. It's not much. The next thing that we can do is, like, we need the ability to like change it to like add ingredients. And actually, doesn't this have a, yeah, so if you add an ingredient that doesn't do anything, it becomes a mundane potion. I actually think it's worth getting that in here as well. And so we need some way to like modify the potion. And so let's, if we do something like this, so we'll add a method, come in here and we'll say public void add ingredient. Maybe I'm just looking at this, I don't feel a need to say add ingredient and then add the ingredient. Maybe I just call it add. That way I can come up here and I can say potion dot add ingredient dot sugar. All right, so I can do something like that. And now we need to be able to change the type. So if its current type is water and I add, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to, because I don't know how many people, I'm gonna drop this link into the chat so people can see what I'm looking at without having to search for themselves. Oh, hey, that was kind of cool. It rendered it in Discord as a picture. All right, so like if I have a water and I add netherwort, I end up with an awkward potion. So I guess I just looking at this, like I feel like I've already kind of got this wrong. Like I made a record, and this type is with a record. When you add in like these things, it'll generate a property that is it's an init only property. So I can it's the equivalent of this kind of property: public potion type get init. So it's that, but if I want to be able to just like add more ingredients to it, then I need to be able to change that. I need this to be settable, and maybe settable only within the class. And I think with what I just did, it achieves that. But I think if I'm gonna do that, maybe I'll just downgrade this to a class. Downgrade. I don't know if that's the right word for it. And just use like the primary constructor syntax. So this effectively is the same thing. And now I can do something like this, where I can just like change the, so basically if depending on what my current type is and what my ingredient that I just added is, the type will get updated to something else. So type equals, so something like this. If type equals water, then and ingredient is ingredient dot netherwort, then I've made then type equals potion type dot, it becomes a mundane potion, right? What else can we do here? If type equals potion type dot mundane and ingredient equals ingredient dot sugar, then type will become swiftness. And if we add a rabbit's foot, then potion type is leaping. Right? Yeah, but so if we let's see, let's do this. Console dot write line potion dot type, and then we can add netherwort, and then we can add sugar. Let's run that. First time. That looks like it worked to me. We started with water, we added netherwort to get a mundane potion, and then we added sugar to get swiftness. That's all fine and good. Okay. Does anybody know what happens in Minecraft if you already have a, say, a leaping potion and you add some weirdo ingredient? Like because like I know, like looking at that chart, if I have a leaping potion and I add redstone or what is this, glowstone, then I get one of these other ones. But what happens if I add, I don't know, sugar? Does it just not work, period? Or does it ruin the potion? Like, does it become a mundane potion? Oh, maybe that's what this is saying. Oh, that's water bottle. It won't work. It just doesn't. It just doesn't do anything. Okay. Uh. So in that case, if it's anything else, we'll just do nothing. Which is what this already does. So we're in good shape. What I'd like to do though is instead of what I'd like to do is instead of like having this hard coded, it'd be nice to be able to like type stuff in. And so this is where things get, I think, a little interesting. Well, actually, there's one more thing that we can do here before I move on. So if type equals potion dot, if it is water, and we add and this kind of makes it look like if we add anything that is if we have water and we add anything else, we get a mundane potion. Then, so like we could do this, type equals potion type dot mundane, with the catch that I guess I was going to say maybe these need to be else if. Something like that. ahead of myself. This line. So if I add sugar here, without adding the nether wart first, this second time through, I should get a mundane potion. Wait, mundane? Nope, that should be a... I've done that wrong. I can't believe I did this. Okay. These turn into an awkward potion. Try that again. Okay, that looks better. If I get an awkward potion, then I get a swiftness potion. All right. So the next thing I want to do here is make it so that I don't have to hard code it. This seems like a pretty decent time to mention I actually I think this is a pretty reasonable way to approach things like this. I often do this there's an example in the book about like level generation and like using different interfaces, like an interface to like define like a level generator or something like that, and then like you can generate the level in a lot of different ways, including like a hard coded level generator. And so like you might have all of your objects for the level, like rooms and monsters in each of the rooms and treasures and traps and whatever it is, doors connecting the rooms that you have to, whatever that is. It could be very reasonable that you start by just like hard coding it in the code because it's very easy to do. And then at some point in time you say, okay, well, I want to like augment this. I want to make it so I can generate it like procedurally generated, a procedurally generated dungeon, or like it's loaded from file, or it's loaded from like you connect to some server and download the information from a server, or it's in a database so you pull it out of the database, or whatever it is. But a lot of times to just work through it initially with just some hard-coded stuff is a very reasonable thing. Like it keeps it simple. It allows you to start building up your object model, like the set of objects that you have, without a lot of, I got to go set up a database. I got to go set up a server. Like it keeps all that at minimal. And it honestly, from my perspective, it feels like it usually results in a better design because you're just thinking about like, what does it take to represent a potion and to like manipulate a potion? That's all there is to it. But at this point now, like it's limited because it only does exactly one thing. And so I think now at this point we want to give ourselves more power than just the hard-coded stuff. So now I need some way to get user input to affect our potion. And we could just handle that right here. We could just say while true console.readLine. Let's do this. Console.writeLine. So tell them what the potion type is, and then we'll do this, and we'll say, okay. It's complaining because this could be null, but unless you're really going out of your way, it's not gonna be null. This is essentially complaining about null because secretly behind the scenes, this is using a text reader of unknown types, and text reader might return a string, and so there's a chance that it could console is I don't remember what it is. It's like, I don't know, control X or control X, and then you have to hit enter. Like that's how you get it to be null. I'm okay. So I don't, in the book, I tend to like just ignore the possibility of null there, especially before we get to that part in the book. But we can handle null there by saying maybe it's null. It's okay. So if input equals Um, let's do this. Well, maybe I'm okay. Let me talk this straight out. I'm look the simplest thing that I could do is I could just come in here and I could say, if it's nether wart, then do potion dot add ingredient dot nether wart. And then same with these other ones. So if it's sugar, then ingredient dot sugar. And if it's that, are there any other? That's it. But then I started thinking before I even got this far, like, what if we rearranged it a little bit so that we just like had the ingredient here and just like depending on what you're adding, you just basically I'm trying to remove this duplication, this potion dot add. I'm trying to like make it so that I can just do ingredient and then just down here do ingredient equals you know, but I'll deal with that in a second. I keep getting ahead. I keep doing stuff without explaining it, and that's not what I want to do right now. Like I do want the ability to just say like, hey, restart. And so maybe like the simplest thing I could do to handle that is if input equals restart, potion equals new. That. Okay, now with this, I ought to be able to this this looks like it's working to me other than like 1,000 dumb little problems like the fact that I have no clue that I'm not. How do I know that I'm supposed to type these and things like where did my console window go? Things like what happens if I type something that's not in there? Like I'm not handling the user input very well. Um, so let's see if we can make this a little more user friendly. And if we want to handle if you want to handle the user, the capitalization, like we can do. There's a couple of options. There's yeah, there's a couple of options. We could do a case insensitive if input dot equals nether wart and then string comparison ignore case like that. That's probably like the quote unquote official way to like ignore case. The other thing that a lot of people do that just feels simpler is to just say, look, I'm just going to lowercase the input. So it doesn't matter what they typed. Now I can just do input equals that. So maybe like now it's I get my two lower, and actually I think there's a way to do. I'm not sure about this. There is an overload. Two lower culture info. Something like that to like lowercase it with a specific culture. You could use the invariant culture, which wouldn't. I don't know, like the stuff I'm typing here. I don't know that capital like it's there's some weird stuff that happens with just the thinking about uppercase versus lowercase in different cultures. Um, invariant is gives you like it gives you repeatability. Like it doesn't vary from culture to culture. It is, I believe, just English. Um, I don't know that this deviates from English in any practical sense, but anyway, I don't. It also is more code to have to think about and understand. So, do I really want more code? Is this good enough? The other thing though is like, do like it? Is this how I want to handle the restart, or do I want like specific? What do you want to do now, and make I'll like require the user to type in add so that restart actually makes sense. I don't know. Those are interesting things to think about. I don't really want to have to type add all the time. The other thing about this capitalization stuff is if it's really a problem, it might be better to make it so the user doesn't have a chance. Like this is one of the big problems with what we've got here right now is if I type in rabbit's foot without the apostrophe. Let me restart. And then nether ort. And now if I add in a rabbit's foot without the apostrophe, this doesn't work. Like nothing happened. And maybe I should do something in here where I say, like if none of these above things happened, it's like I could do else if, else if, else if, else console.write line. Give some indication that I don't know what you just typed. So now if I type in rabbit's foot like that, it tells me. So our user input handling is now a fair bit better than it was. I think maybe the next thing to do here that would be interesting, at least for me, is to just quickly flesh out all of the different things that we actually can do here. So I'm just going to go through this really quick and just kind of make all the things. So we've already done, let's see, we've got those. So gunpowder, just throw all these in here really quick. What haven't I got yet? Oh, I'm just noticing that I need both a spider eye and a fermented spider eye. I don't remember how to get a fermented spider eye. How does that work? Somebody know off the top of their head? That's all the ingredients. And this is technically all on one gigantic line, and it's so long that maybe I don't want to do it that way. Let's craft with a brown mushroom, sugar, and a spider eye. That's right. I remember that now. It was this weaving potion that I looked at and like, what on earth is going on here? Like when I was like, there's a lot more to this than I remember there being. Apparently, something that has this weaving, this potion of weaving, like the effect that comes from that, if they die, they like spawn cobwebs, which is just a really weird effect. It's interesting, but it's weird. And I saw this oozing and this infestation, and it's like, when did all these show up? other than like all the pluses and twos and stuff, I think I've accounted for all the potions. And now I think now we add in all this other stuff. So I'm just gonna do this kind of the brute force way. So if it's an awkward potion, I've already got the leaping. So I want it's blaze powder. This becomes a potion of strength. If it's a glistening melon slice, then it becomes a potion of healing. If it's a spider eye, then it becomes a potion of poison. Did I not get that one? I must have missed one. I feel like I'm always unlucky when I go fight ghast. Like if it feels like if I ever get a ghast here, it's always because the ghast was over a lava lake, and I don't ever I feel like I recover ghast tears in Minecraft. They only very rarely. I know they're kind of rare, and you have to fight a ghast to get it in the first place, but so if you want a potion of invisibility, you start with a night vision potion, and you get a fermented spider eye. Would a switch be easier to navigate? Yes, I'll get there. I agree 100%. Um, and this other comment about an add function return a potion instead of changing the current potion's type. Yes, I'll get to that too in a second. I got a cat that thinks it's food time, but she's off by an hour and 15 minutes. Like I said, I'm doing this brute force. Is it great? No. Slime block. Okay, so we've made all the different potion types except for the pluses and the twos and stuff like that. No, I'm missing another one. I don't have the harming one. So let's go. I'm going to move this guy down. And then, so if I have a potion of healing and I add a fermented spider's eye, I get a potion of harming. And also, if I have a potion of poison and I add a fermented spider eye, I get a potion of harming. And then also, if I have a potion of leaping and I add a fermented spider eye, I get a potion of not slow falling, slowness. And the last one here is swiftness. So if I have a swiftness and I add a fermented spider eye, then I get that. Okay. Other than the 2s and the pluses and the like this, you can't see that. Other than all these 2s and pluses over here and this stuff here, like oh, I also didn't. Okay, and the splash potion, lingering potion, I haven't done that. This fermented, I also I could do that. So just starting from a water bottle, I could get a potion of weakness. So that one should be easy. Let's get that in there. And then I'll go back to these comments that people have stated that I think are very valid. So if we have water and we just add a fermented spider eye, we get a potion of weakness, which apparently I didn't include. So the first comment there was the comment about, well, what if this were a switch? Wouldn't that be easier to navigate? And honestly, yes. So let's start with that. Let's do that. Like, and I think given like the way this is set up, there's 2 inputs to this. There's the current type, and then there is the ingredient that we add. And I think that like if we use a switch with 2 inputs, so what we can do is this: we can say type equals, and then here's our 2 inputs to the switch. So the current type and the ingredient. Switch like this. And then all of this is going to just get put into there. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is move that up to here. All my lines look the same. About to do. I'm, by the way, for what I'm doing there, I'm holding down Alt and Shift, and then I'm getting like extra cursors. Like each line now has its own cursor. So when I start editing, like it applies to all of them. So now let's see if this works. So I hit Control and right arrow to like move to the next like word boundary. And it's mostly what I want, other than I feel like this line right here. What happened here? This was the else. I'm going to handle that separately. Let's try that again. So, comma, and then I can delete all this ingredient and that. And I've got that, and then I'll do this. Delete the semicolon, replace with a comma. Poof. Now that it's structured like this, I want to change my white space a little bit. This, because now it's like this table, and I know like these names are kind of long, and it is what it is. Anyway, like that now it's this like tabular format. It's a lot easier to see what's going on. I can see, here's the input, here's the thing, here's what I get. There is the one thing that we didn't handle, which was if it was water and it's anything else, then it becomes a mundane potion. And so we can handle that. So if it's a potion type dot water and it's anything else, this becomes a mundane potion. So that handles that else. What's that complaining about? Oh, missing. There. Okay. So in my opinion, this switch is a lot better than the giant pile of if statements. It's a lot easier to maintain. Like when it comes along and I need to like add in a new ingredient or add in a new thing, like I feel like this is easier to maintain. So I definitely agree with that comment. Um, yes, I agree. This is like a language like Python, like uses the white space for structure, and C sharp uses curly braces and parentheses and angle brackets and things like this, which makes C sharp, to somebody who's done a lot of Python, it makes C sharp feel very like cluttered versus just like I just indent. On the other hand, it can be really nice to be able to use white space to help me understand the structure of the program without requiring it to be tied to I'm going to say the structure of the program is what I just said, but like it gives you it's and every language has to make these choices. Like, is it how do I want to handle an if statement? How do I want to handle a loop or like whatever it is? And they make these choices, and it they can all work. Switching between languages is often very difficult. Like it takes time to be like, oh right, white space matters in this language. White space doesn't matter here. I gotta, whatever it is. All right. So, but there was the comment of basically, what if we made the add function just produce a new potion? And we definitely could, like that definitely works. One thing about what we have here is that the potion, like the same object stays intact. I'm just taking the potion and I'm just changing the existing object. If I like so one thing that we could do is we could make a method that something like this. We could make a private potion type and have this method just, I mean, essentially it could just be this entire thing. Put that in here, and we could just say return that, and then this could just be add. And like the thing I like about this structure, oh, I've lost all my indentation. That's okay. I'm planning on undoing it here in a second anyway. But the nice thing about this is like this is all immutable. This is a pure function. And so it's easier to think about because it has no it's what programmers call side effects. Although a lot of times the side effect is like side effect makes it sound like, oh, I didn't mean for that to happen. A lot of times these quote unquote side effects are the specific intent of what you're doing. You meant to have that effect. So to call it a side effect feels like disingenuous because it's like that it was not a side effect, it was the intended effect. But a lot of times, like a pure function that doesn't manipulate existing stuff is easier to reason about. It's easier to like understand what just happened. So I'm going to undo this now. If we just said, look, I'm like, once a potion exists, that's it. We like, that's the potion. And in that case, we could go back to the record that we had and get rid of this and then do this where we make a new potion, right? This is going to be slightly awkward, but I don't need this method stub anymore. Like now I know that no matter what I do, I'm always going to end up with a new potion. I'm not going to like the existing one can't be modified, which for example helps with things like if you have multiple threads, if there's multiple threads accessing objects, they can step on each other's toes. It can be bad. Um, but so in this case, the only catch here is I would need to do like I want to update this. I can ever spell potion. Like I need to do this. Okay, that one already was doing that. Okay, like I do want to update this potion with the new thing, but so now I know like the original object just stays intact. Like it is what it was, and I just get a new object. And I think there's trade-offs to that. Like I said, there's to have a potion be immutable makes it easier to think about and reason about, and it actually like now it's just a simple data structure, and once it's there, it's kind of locked in place. And so I don't have to worry about, well, what if it changes? I don't have to like add events for like if the potion type changes, I need to do something about that. I need to like update the UI or whatever it is. Um, on the other hand, there's like the other part of that is I do need to this potion variable to store my current potion, and so now I have to do potion equals this instead of just potion.add. So it's trade-offs. I think both of them can be the right call. I definitely don't mind it in this case, so I think I'm going to leave it this way for the last, I guess we've got 15 seconds left technically. The only thing is I'm still kind of interested in pursuing this just a little bit further. Brewing changes a thing instead of making a new thing without the old thing staying intact. That I agree with that. So I think there's an argument here that like this is a bit more what we had a moment ago is philosophically in better alignment with what happens the in the game. And I think that's an important like comment is what your code like you have fewer problems if your code aligns with kind of the expectations of it because people a random other programmer comes into this code and looks at it and says, well, what am I like if you've played Minecraft and you want to manipulate it and you're trying to like change this code and you're familiar with how it works from a user's perspective, then then you're gonna come in with certain assumptions about how the code is going to work. And if your assumptions about the code don't align with the realities of the code, it's not that you can't deal with it, but it's a little surprising. And it doesn't follow the principle of least surprise. You want people to not be surprised when they're messing with the code. So I do think that I think it's valid. Um, all right, there's like there's a couple of things I want to do before I just wrap this up, even though we're out of time. I suppose we could pick this up another day too. It's that we have a similar problem here with like there's a lot of ingredients now, all of these ingredients, and I just like, so how are we going to handle all that? Like there isn't just one thing anymore. There's a bunch of things, and like again, the brute force solution here is if it's netherwort, sugar, rabbits. But I've already got those. So I could just come in here and I could just say, spider eye, fermented spider eye, red. I could just like hard code all this stuff. And that definitely works. Oh, I didn't add the redstone. I'll add that in a second. Got the glowstone. Restone dust. Thank you. Okay. Uh, so in theory now I can run this and like follow that little chart. I could find it on my computer again. There we go. And I want to add netherwort, redstone dust. Wow. Why? Yeah, okay. That doesn't work because adding redstone doesn't make sense here. Thank you, compiler, or not the compiler. In this case, this should be if it's anything else. Then we'll just use the existing type. So nothing happened. Now if I add the guest here, I get a regeneration potion. Okay, that seems like it's working, but I do want to, before I wrap this up, because it's definitely, it's time. I don't want to eat up anybody's days, entire day. So I'll just make a couple of comments here without changing code anymore. It would definitely be nice to not have to like write out all these things all the time. Like have some sort of like automatic conversion to these ingredients. It might be nice to just like tell people what the options are and give them the option to like type in a number from the menu. I think that's easier for the user to not have to. It's just so easy to mistype one little character in here and then the whole thing's ruined. It's harder when it's like pick a number between whatever this is, 1 and 15. So that would probably be a better way to handle this, especially as the number of things ingredients gets longer. So definitely room for improvement there. Because then the other part about that is when I do want to add more ingredients, I don't have to. I all I have to do is come down here to the ingredient list and just add another thing, and the system takes care of it. There's a downside to that too, though, and that is what text should it use? And it's stuff like to write code that will handle all the nuanced cases is kind of tricky. Like to take the enumeration name and display it, or to convert text and turn it into the name can be tricky. It's one thing if the only difference is capitalization, but it's stuff like it isn't just capitalization because fermented spider eye, like the right way to write this needs spaces. So you'd have to account for spaces, which maybe you can do with just recognizing, the capital letters. But then there's also stuff like this where the right way to write this one is the apostrophe. Um, and then there's also stuff like, well, you know what? What if we didn't call this a slime block? What if we called it a slime cube? And it doesn't even align. It's just its own thing. So there is some complexity to that. And a way that you could address that would maybe be with attributes. I don't know. Well, yeah, so this is an existing attribute. Yeah, okay. Display name is not valid on this declaration type. So I can only put this on classes, methods, properties, indexers, and events. So we could make our own attribute. I do this so rarely. I don't remember how to. I think it's this. Attribute targets. But is that, I don't know that that's, that might only be applicable to an enumerate. Like I don't, is there a, like what I need to be able to do is apply it to an enumeration value. Oh no, it's okay with that. He's not complaining other than like, All right, so like we can like inject this metadata in here. I'm actually gonna write it like this. Oh, yeah, that's not gonna work. Not conceptually it works, but that specific code won't work. Public string name, primary constructor. Now it should work. So now in theory, like we could go dig through. We could either use this or we could like look for these. So we could write code that digs through the enumeration, finds this metadata, and produces the menu. And then we have all the flexibility in the world. But at a cost. Like now I've got to add all this stuff and I got to define this enumeration. I don't know. It is what it is. Trade-offs. And that's always the nature of these things. There's always trade-offs. And the right decision depends on the specific circumstances that you're in. The other thing that I like, so we have this big switch. There's this attribute of code that if you can pull it off, it like it ideally you'd be able to always be just adding new code and not modifying existing code. And so consider, again, I won't write the code here, but consider if you wanted to have a system where people could make mods that add new potion types. This doesn't facilitate that. This is a hard-coded list of potions, and there's no wiggle room here to allow a plugin, a mod, to inject their own potion types. And if you wanted to pull that off, you'd have to do something more like public interface potion recipe and something like, I don't know, I'm winging this here, but like so like a bool can create, can combine, and like a like this, and then like a and I guess the way I've set this up. Oh no, okay, oh yeah, yeah, it would be that. This is right. Um, so I've made a like a combine method and a can combine method, and maybe the better way to do this would just be like, I'll just return null if it can't do it. And then you'd come down in here and you'd make a whole bunch of these like classes that have this. So like this feels very un-Minecrafty. They wouldn't call it a turbo potion. They'd have something. Yes, that what I was mentioning. Sorry, the comment was the O in solid. That is one of the solid principles. Open for extension, but closed for modification. Um, going back to the comment that I made was ideally you'd mostly just be writing new code. You don't have to modify the existing code, and that is the O, the open close principle in the solid principles, which is an acronym, which is a really good baseline for like good object oriented design. Is and so like ideally you'd be able to grow the system by adding new code, and part of that's because adding new code is a whole lot easier to do than modifying existing code. You are always constantly changing existing stuff. You run a risk of breaking stuff. It's just you have to understand it before you can change it. And if you can just add new stuff, you have this flexibility to just add new things. It's really kind of convenient, and it's about the only way to achieve like a plugin system. If whatever you want to do as a plugin can't be done by just adding stuff, you might be out of luck. There may not be a way to do it. All right. So if we had this, and so if we said, well, so if initial potion is not a if it's not an oozing potion, then return null. So we'll just bail. So if it was an oozing potion, basically we'll say, oh, if you we'll get this if we have an oozing potion and you add. I'm kind of writing this backwards. Let me flip the logic around because I think that makes it easier. If initial potion is a if it's an oozing potion and the ingredient is sugar. I'm just picking random stuff here. Return new potion fire resistance. Otherwise, return null. So by creating this interface and creating this class, then maybe if we set this, and I'm 18 minutes over what I meant to do here. That's what always seems to happen when I do these kinds of things. In theory, if I could like get like a list of recipes in here, like if I just the easiest way to do that would be to like make like a list of potion recipe. Then I can do this and say for each something like this. I got that. Let's see. What we'll do, we'll create the new thing and then we'll say if a result is not null, return, sorry, if it's not, then return result. Otherwise, we'll just keep going on to the next one. Interesting, kind of weird. Anyway, so now in theory, like I could turn all of these into potion recipes. And as long as I have a good way to like construct this list out of all the possible ones, then I can just add new potion recipes on the fly. You just need to make new instances of, new classes derived from this. If I were gonna do this a lot, I would maybe make a base class so that all I have to do, or because all of these are going to be essentially the same. Given an input, given the initial type, and given an ingredient that you're adding, like I've probably overdone this. It'd probably be better to just make it so the system is input type, input potion type, ingredient, and resulting potion type, and then that would simplify this code a bit. But in theory, now I'm in a better place for adding new potion types. There's a catch though. If I really want flexibility, I probably can't use an enumeration for either of these. These probably need to be some sort of class because I can't. Because right now, the only, like, if I want to make a new potion type, a completely different potion type that does something completely different with my plugin, my mod, I'm out of luck here because I have to modify this enumeration in order to do that. Same with these ingredients. But if my mod adds, I don't know, dinosaur eggs, and that's an ingredient. Like I need to have dinosaur eggs be an option. So I'd probably need to change how all this handles and works in order to really have a flexible potion system. And I suspect I haven't really looked at like Minecraft modding, but I'm pretty confident that the way things are set up have that flexibility in it because mods create new everything all the time. So I'm sure they've already got this figured out, and the enumerations just don't have that flexibility. All right. I said an hour, and it's been we're closer to an hour and a half now. So I'm gonna stop here. But this was an interesting little exploration of stuff. I'll save this code. Maybe we'll pursue it a little further another day, but we'll call it a day here. Thanks for joining me. It's been fun. See you guys later.